Yeah.
It's a great start.
All right, we're live. I'm just going to take that as we are live. So hello and welcome everyone.
What's happening?
To the Survivor Maryland Major Conflict episode 11 live show. More words every time. I'd like to welcome some great guests. Returning as always, Erin, parentheses, Josh Stan account. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Yeah, this is a Josh Stan account today. So we can talk
Great.
about that.
From Survivor Northwestern Season 1, we have the wonderful, the amazing, the incredible Carson Daly.
Oh my gosh, what an intro, Anders. Thank you so much. I will be the backup Josh Stan account today.
Our final guest is, of course, the wonderful, great Jess, who is a future Survivor Maryland player, as well as the roommate of Josh and Micah. Whoa. Jess, glad to have you.
Yeah, I was really excited to be featured in a brief montage of pictures of our roommates. It was a really nice throwback.
And then finally joining us after getting voted out in the first real close vote this season, Josh. Josh, it's unfortunate to have you, but it's great to have you at the same time.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad there was at least some conflict over my vote and that some people wanted to vote alongside me as I went home. And as I said in the episode, it was a great episode, or a great experience regardless. And a great episode.
Yeah, it was some conflict, not major conflict, but I'll take it. I am, of course, joining you all. If you don't know who I am, I'm Anders. I'm the host of Survivor Maryland Major Conflict. This week, I'm doing this from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. What's going on? And the answer is, I can't tell you. I'm over here now. Anyways, yes, Naomi is right. All Josh Stans unite and then get voted out immediately. So, of course, this week, Josh, we did see you get voted out, and we'll go into that a little bit more. But first, I want to ask you, how are you? It's been 4 years. What's been going on? Where are you? What's happening?
I'm great. I've been all around. Well, I guess not really. I started 2016 in Maryland. Here I am in Maryland right now. In between, I've done lots of adventuring. I was in Minnesota for 2 years, which is a great time. Minneapolis is a great city. So yeah, here I am.
Wonderful, amazing, incredible. Well, you're back in Maryland. Josh, you got to see yourself get voted out. You got to see yourself through this entire journey 4 years later. How did it feel to watch yourself do this? What was the feeling you got?
It's a bizarre experience for sure. I was really excited about it, and that didn't let down. It was awesome. There were certainly some ups and downs. It's really interesting to see what happens behind the scenes every episode. Because you go over what happens after the season and you talk about things, but it's not like you even remember what you said or did 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. So it's really interesting to see where people's heads were at and where you thought they were at, because apparently you were wrong most of the time.
Oh, your reads were it's very interesting. You had really horrible reads, and then you had really good reads and acted not on them at all. You really just sat on that. So let's go back to the beginning of this game. In the beginning of the game, you wait a little bit. You make a relationship with Santi, and then you think you have a relationship with the guys. Why were you so confident in this guys alliance?
Because they were they were convincing. They had me hooked in line and sinker, and they had me. I also met with Angie along with Santi, and I think that's something that I didn't work hard enough at. Clearly, it came back to bite me in this episode where it's not. I kind of thought I'm establishing this relationship. It's true. I was establishing this relationship, but I didn't do anything with it going forward. And then I suddenly needed it, and it wasn't there. But yeah, the guys had me convinced. I mean, the whole way.
Let's actually, you mentioned something before the show started about your Survivor knowledge before the game and sort of maybe the strategy and the headspace you were coming into this game with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was kind of a casual Survivor fan. My mom would call me down for the challenges. I always loved them. They felt like I'm a big sports guy. I was a sports journalism major, and I just loved that aspect. I didn't really care for the talking. And then I got more into it, and I knew a bit. But then that first day of Survivor, after I met with Angie, after I met with Santi, I remember going home and watching the Heroes Villains premiere, and Chris LeCompte was also at our house because he had just been at the thing. So I watched the Heroes Villains premiere with Lecomte, and then I binged hard, and here I am today. So very different headspace, and maybe that's why my reads got better.
Yeah, Josh really binged one of the most strategic seasons and said, I won't learn anything from this.
Well, I did a bunch of seasons. That was at the start. So
these are great titles. Why am I calling it this? So Josh, the swap comes, and for some reason, Mike and Liam want you out bad. And you're like, it's us three dudes to the end. Sanjay comes to you and he tells you they want to get you out. And they're going to do it tonight. You got to vote for Liam. In that moment, what were you feeling? Did you feel like your entire world was a lie?
Yeah, I basically did. I mean, I totally believed them right off the bat, because if I was going to believe anyone in the game, it was going to be those two. Yeah, I mean, Mike and Liam had me convinced. I mean, and think in one of those confessionals, I'm like, I'm on top of the world. And I think I come off as really confident. But myself, when I watch it, I like hear the confusion in my voice where I'm like, am I like they're telling me this and like it feels that way, but like it felt like it was too good to be true, but I didn't do anything with that like feeling that it was too good to be true. But yeah, I believe them. I believe Liam.
We have an important audience question. Josh, if Micah is the world's greatest aunt, what great family member are you?
I'm also the world's coolest aunt. Controversial, I know.
Josh really said, I not only want to beat Micah's record in Survivor Maryland, I also want to be the world's coolest aunt.
See, I knew Anders would say that, and that's why I literally asked him if I should put it on before this. And he said yes, so it's on him.
I know what the people want.
We both happened to get it at thrift stores. I got mine near Baltimore. He got his near Philly. I don't know how it happened. It's magical.
That's so cute.
Yeah. I mean, it's why I love Micah. Yeah. We don't.
Yeah, Dante and Doug share their idols, and Josh and Micah share their sweaters.
He got voted out with an idol. At least I never found one.
Like, true. Let's actually, I was going to ask that later, but let's talk about the idol. So you get 4 clues. I only give up to 4 clues because I'm like, I'm not just going to give you a map and then a picture of where it is. I give you those 4 clues, and you have at least 2 clues over everyone else looking for that idol. Why couldn't you find it?
I don't know why I couldn't find it. I went back and recently, at the beginning of the season, read the 4th clue that you gave me, and it's so obvious that you're just like, you fucking idiot, find this. Excuse me. But yeah, I just apparently was looking on the wrong side. The side I was looking on was on my walk home almost every day. So I would just like scrounge around for 5 minutes here and there, but not enough very clearly. And then eventually I just got discouraged, got down on myself and figured it ain't meant to be. I'm cursed. I don't know.
And I will say this.
I had to give it to Doug. I had to give the clues to Doug after he saved my butt. So
it's funny, in the scene where Micah is walking with you back home, the spot where the idol is right behind you. I could see it clear as day. It only took
really good at not giving off any hints, not giving off any clues. He's a straight faced dude, so it's hard.
You gave me a lot of footage of you looking for idols, and never found it.
Helicopter, found a beaver, found random stuff, but
it's incredible because truly, it's like everyone was so convinced you had the idol. At that point, there was nothing you could say. People weren't going to be like, Josh has this idol.
Yeah, I think that's why I was so watching this back. It was so hard for me to see everyone being like, he for sure has it. I don't care what he says. It's like, I'm being honest with you. I'm being so earnest with you. And I don't know. It kind of feels like it's one of those things where they asked each other so many times, does Josh have an idol, that it just turned into Josh has the idol. Like it's this like boogeyman that's there. But I did it to myself in a way.
So after you blindside Liam to save yourself, Mike is very pissed at you. And you guys share a very fun exchange where you're like, hey, dude, if you want to talk, let's do it. And he says, fuck you. He wasn't my only alliance. And you're like, okay. So I guess my question is, why didn't you and Mike work together after that?
I mean, I wanted to. Hearing him read back that text that I sent him, I understand how he got that read. It was a really weird text, the wording of it. I wanted to, and Abby, I was going to talk to Mike and get Abby Thank you. I like reset.
Oh, wait. Naomi also had a very fun read at the very beginning of the season. She's like, Josh gives off camp counselor energy. Like, he looks like he went to a Jewish camp. He did. So.
Really spot on. That's spot on. I mean, me and Mike met at Jewish summer camp when we were 11. So here we are.
So you and Mike, obviously, it was not going to go anywhere, but you wanted to talk to him and Abby.
Yeah, but Abby at that time, I just like felt like what am I gonna say to Abby? Like, she's gonna then have to convince Mike. I might as well convince Mike to tell Abby. And I wanted to talk to Mike, but clearly he was so incensed and he was so mad, and I was just mad at him for being mad at me. I was just like, why are you mad at me? I saved my ass. Like, you mad at those dudes who lied to you. I didn't lie to you. You lied to me. Like, what's happening here? My head was so turned around. And yeah, I just wanted to say, yeah, get rid of Mike. He's never going to work with me.
What was the beef between you and Abby? Like, why was there so much like animosity there?
I think people just liked, apparently, since no one was ever telling me the truth before the swap, I think everyone just threw Abby's name out to me, and that's kind of like what stuck. Because she was never going to talk to me to dispute that, because she wasn't talking to much of anyone. So, yeah. I did really enjoy the Delaram Abby scene to start the day. It was so the two of them sitting on the bed chatting.
Oh yeah, I mean, you don't want to cross Abby. She'll hate you forever.
No. And then she didn't end up voting me out. So
she's apparently willing to change her loyalty at any point.
She did say that, yeah.
And what a fun thing to hear if you're sitting on a bed and trying to align with somebody. That was my perspective. But then again, I've said that before, so I get it, and I kind of like the move. We can talk about that later when we get to the episode.
So Josh, we come to the merge, and obviously Morgan and Angie are on the bottom. From your point of view, what was your sort of ideal path? Did you want to stick with Sadie and Doug, or were you feeling like you had to?
I wanted to stick with Sadie, not Doug. Just like as time went on, I progressively got closer with Sadie, and more kept like feeling like we should get Doug out, and then eventually vocalizing that to her. But yeah, I wanted to stick with that. I still wanted to work with Santi. You see that group of me, Santi, Doug, and Sadie, which like looks ridiculous as like the three of them and me. But I think that's kind of why it's like I felt included. I felt like, hey, I'm in this room, like I'm in the talks, like all these things that put to rest a lot of concerns. And I was voted dark horse, which like boosted my confidence when I don't think I needed any sort of confidence boost. So yeah.
Well, it's so funny because
I wanted to work with Sadie and do that. I wanted to get out.
You said in that scene, I am aware these three are not like me. They are stronger threats. They will beat me. I'm okay with that, because if there's a blind side, it won't be against me. It's like, well, who's going to blindside them, Josh? Like, you're aware, but you're not going to actively, like, why? You had that read that they were stronger. Was the plan, I'll just blindside Doug first and then make a move later? Like, why was there so much hesitation with Doug? You made several points for several episodes. Doug is a threat.
Can't tell you. I honestly can't tell you. I think that I was just on a one-way street of like, I need to blindside Doug with Sadie, and like, I need to work with Sadie for this to work. And I guess looking back, I might have been dismissive of ever working with Dane, Tim, or them. I kind of viewed Amanda and Tim as one and just wanted to get them out of there. But yeah, I don't know how I had good reads and then didn't want to do anything. And then I didn't expect Sadie to go tell Doug immediately, like, she wants to get you out, because that's a bummer.
Well, let's talk about you being dismissive. So you say you didn't really have like a lot of other options. Let's talk about Amanda, who comes to you as soon as the merge starts at your party. You're both drunk, and she's like, Josh, I feel like we need to work together. We need to do something, get rid of the threats. I don't feel safe. Like, you two kind of talk about, if not that round, the next round about going for Santi or Sadie. And you take this information and then immediately go to Sadie and say, Amanda wants to get you out? That's crazy. Why?
Because for the same reason I was gonna make it up beforehand, because whether it was word of mouth or whether it was just like propaganda that had been fed to me, I just like didn't want to work with Amanda, and like she was on the other side for all I knew. And then secondly, I just remember the way she spoke to me. In retrospect, perhaps she was pointing out the truths of they're using you, you're a loser, whatever. Maybe she didn't say that. But the way she spoke to me was, I remember, fairly condescending and fairly dismissive and fairly like, you're an idiot. Which even if all the facts she was saying were true, I was never gonna go along with that just because I was so rubbed the wrong way. And like I said, I wasn't gonna do it anyway. I was drunk, having a good time. I wanted to like lie. I remember kind of being disappointed that she did do it because I wanted to like be Survivor and be sneaky and like lie and make something up. So yeah, I was never gonna work with Amanda. But in retrospect, should have.
Well, it's funny because the next round, Amanda comes to you and says, we should go for Santi. You go to Sadie with that information, and then Sadie tells Doug and Santi, Josh wants to go for both of you, which then inevitably tanks her game because then they are like, we got to get out Josh. So seeing that unfold, do you wish you had done something different? What would have been the play here?
I guess I wish I didn't rely on Sadie as much as my line of communication, and that I had diversified my own options and that I had talked to the people myself. I mean, you see me talking to Santi. That seems like it was too little too late, and whatever had been told to him. I mean, Jess was texting me like, they're bringing this up. You were rallying against Doug and Santi. And I was like, it wasn't that much. It was just a suggestion. But like in people's eyes, the way they perceived it, apparently it was. And this game, that's what it is. So yeah, and I also did talk to Angie right before Tribal Council, and that had me feeling hopeful. I knew it would be close, and it sucked that it was her. But in retrospect, I should have talked more and met with her more and done all the things you're supposed to do.
Definitely a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because like it looked like you and Angie were becoming like more of a duo in the week before, like the Amanda week. Like you guys were meeting up. You were like, you know, I really trust Angie. Angie really trusts me. It was like, oh, like maybe there's some semblance of like a Chikasha like, alliance happening, maybe. But yeah, it's all like turn around. Like that's what surprised me is of why Angie made this move. Because like I was like, I thought, you know, why would you vote out somebody that trusts you?
Yeah, that was the confusing part of listening to her today is like, I want to get out. All these people have pairs. All these people have pairs. But Josh doesn't have a pair.
Right.
Without Josh. And it was like, I'm totally like, you see me working with Sadie. Like, you fit in with these girls more than I do, honestly. So, like, I don't know.
I think I can speak to that.
Oh, I would say come back to bite her because, you know, once Doug's gone, people are going to be looking at her more. And she might need your vote. That's just something that I was thinking is that it might have been a bad move.
Well, you got to think of it like
Doug
this.
was on the wrong side of the vote tonight, and she chose to put Doug on the right side of the vote.
Yep.
Well, the options were she votes for Dane or she votes for you. She wasn't going to be able to get a vote against Sadie or Doug. No one would go for it. And she said it. They weren't going to do it, Jess. I know. We're all looking at it like, why? He has 3 idols. They don't know that. But she said it. It's like Delaron and Abby and Sadie are not going to break up. Even if I work with them, they will always choose each other over me. She is aware that they're probably the better people to work with, but she'd rather be with the group of 5 than the trio, you and her. Because there's always next week to try to make a move against someone, but it requires her to build trust now.
There's only one time to take out Josh.
There's only one time to take out Josh. He's too big of a threat. He'll play his idol next round.
If he hadn't taken you out this week, Josh, it was curtains. It was absolute curtains. You would have ran away with it.
I would say my favorite quote from the episode, I wrote it down because I wanted to remember it, was when Angie was like, so I am 100% sure that I don't know what I'm going to do at this vote. And I was like, yes, like that. I love that. It's so funny.
And in retrospect, being the last person to talk to her, I wish that had made the difference, but alas, sitting in her car. Here.
You can try. It was too little too late, which I guess was the story for a lot of people this season. So Josh, I guess going back, what is one thing you wish you could change about your game?
think more skepticism. I think talking to more people, because at some point my lines of information were like so minimal, and clearly what I was getting from those lines of information were lies from the boys and not enough from Angie, which could have been the truth. So a lot of that. I think another thing is that I felt too loyal to Doug, Sadie, and them. Like, I understand feeling some sort of loyalty for saving me, but in Survivor, maybe one vote feel that way, but then move on. So yeah.
To leave you, Josh, here's a great pun from Naomi again. Survivor Maryland, all stars of David. Do you guys have any questions for Josh? Or do you just want to roast him? You can also do that.
Yeah, Erin said she was going to roast me.
Yeah, I just feel like you played this whole game with like rose-colored glasses on.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's exactly what happened. Like, you wanted to have good reads and you had good reads, but you were just looking at them through this lens of like, but everything's okay. And you were just like a little bit too confident going through everything. And without that like dose of like unearned confidence, you 100% could have done so much better, I think. Like, if you would have found that idol, that would have been earned confidence, and I think you might have been in that position. But like, I don't know. Just the fact that at every turn you just like, I don't know, just did the wrong thing.
Yeah.
No,
I'm
where
just
did your confidence come from?
And I'm just too optimistic, and I just.
No, but that's why this is a Josh Stan account, because I did appreciate watching it. Like, did I agree with anything that you did? No. But did I enjoy watching you? Yes.
I want to defend you, Josh, because it's so easy when things have been going well to stick with it. And I know that you were still in, right? I mean, like, things weren't perfect, but so many votes had been semi-unanimous, unanimous, like the confidence builds up. It takes yourself getting blindsided or an ally of yours getting blindsided to like really get into the game. And I just don't know if you'd had that like jump start yet. And I don't think that that's necessarily 100% your fault.
I think
I'm just gonna say I never think I got that jump start is the issue, because like from the get-go, my tribe was against me apparently. Like it's so crazy. Like, I wish that I had defended Ivy more. Like, I had talked to her, I'd worked with her, but it was like, I'm not gonna ruffle the feathers on the first vote. And I don't know, just like from that get-go, and then once I would like had my bubble snap, the only people I had to cling on were the two most powerful people, or the three most powerful people. And then I was like too scared or too comfortable to go talk to the other people. So I was just like clinging on to my powerful friends.
As a player, you gotta jumpstart yourself, and you gotta like find those moments where somebody says something that like rubs you the wrong way and like internalize it, and it drives you insane, and it's really hard.
I feel like that kind of like that should have been when Santi came to you and was like, "Hey, they're gonna vote you out." Like the Liam vote, that should have been your jumpstart, right?
It was, but then the people that I immediately trusted for that were Sadie and Doug.
I guess.
I was like, F these Chikasha friends that I thought I had. Like, these people want to save me, apparently.
Yeah.
So, like, sure.
I mean, look, Josh's gameplay was, I'm going to listen to someone and then immediately go back and rat them out. He did it with Ivy. He did it with Amanda. He didn't do it with Mike and Liam, but that's because there was nothing to rat out. He was wrong. No, I think that the jumpstart really should have been the Liam blindside. It's like, you were wrong. You need to be more aware of the game and what's going on and be more active to not face it. And I think it's hard, obviously, because you had to rely on powerful people. But I do think that the mistake was coming into the merge, killing off the other avenues because you believe them to be bad. It's like, you've never met Amanda, so to immediately write her off, it's like, okay, well, now you have no one to work with. If Sadie is, for some reason, we can't go for Doug, you're out of options.
Yeah, I mean,
not to roast you about 4 years ago.
No, I'm here for the roasting. Give me all you got.
I was trying to give you
I'm not accept it all, because looking back, I myself was confused, and I myself wish I had done different things, and that's the magic of a 4-year gap.
Yeah, I think your mistake was the same as most other people's mistakes, in that it was just an inability to open any other doors for yourself. Like,
Doug and Sadie will do it for me.
Right.
Just, all were friendly and like that was the charm it gave off, and that let like the actually sneaky people do their work. And on Doug, before I head out and let you guys finish your chatting, I think the fact that there were 2 pairs of roommates helped Doug and Santi, because there was like this other pair. It's like, well, there's another pair of roommates also, and it was easy to deflect how much. I don't know. In my head, like Liam said, he was like, "We're gonna take out the roommates, Delaram," and I wouldn't go that far. But I think it just.
Look, I'm not gonna insult your intelligence. Did you guys ever look at Delaram and Abby versus Doug and Santi? Like, certainly. There's a clear difference in these roommate pairs. And
I thought they did more, and I thought Doug and Santi did less, and it ended up being more of the polars. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
Well, that's the thing about crazy thing about Survivor is the perception, and
it's
Doug's a wizard. Doug is so like, I know that people have never met him, and it's hard to like get through the screen, but to me, he's like a good athlete that like people then like want to hate because he's good at what he does.
No, I get it. I love Doug.
And at some point you got to give that respect to someone who's doing it, and I totally understand rooting for the underdogs also, because I love my stan accounts.
Jeff, do you have any final thoughts for Josh here?
And smart, and what he said something tonight that was like to Angie, he was like, "Yeah, we can pull this off," and it was just like, what? Like, we can pull this off? Like, I don't know. It sounded like such an underdog thing to say, but he does it. He is good at flipping that switch.
All right.
Jeff, any final thoughts?
I don't really have any questions. I was just gonna say, like, it was really awesome to watch you play, Josh, versus like you coming home and talking about the game and like actually seeing it being played. I mean, obviously everyone does this, but like Josh put a lot of effort into the season and like was really invested. And
I think that's another interesting thing is I saw, like, didn't live with Micah during his first season. I lived with Micah during All Stars, and I saw how much work he put in, but I think I dismissed it kind of as like, oh, that's All Stars. Like, they're doing that, and I don't want to come off as doing too much, so I'm not going to do that. And the other funny thing is I remember coming home after the Liam vote, and that was the only time Micah cracked, because it was clear that he expected me to be, like, sad. He expected me to be, like, dejected and out of the game. But I wasn't.
Yeah, Micah also like really never like shared his opinions with either Josh or I when we played.
He really didn't want to tell us even how he finished in All Stars, even though we lived with him. Like, you can notice the difference, you know.
It's going to be hard to beat Micah. He did get 5th place on his first season.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was saying this before we went live that I was thinking about it very, like, sports-wise of, like, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, whereas in Survivor, like, you can play better and finish 7th than the person who finished 3rd, but I wasn't thinking about it in that way quite yet, so.
Well, Josh, it's always a pleasure to have you. You're incredible. You're great. Sometimes you really left us with a smile on your face, sometimes just pure confusion. But we will see you on finale night, and where you do get to vote for the winner. You're still going to be here. Thank you so much for joining, and see you later.
See ya. Enjoy, guys.
Bye, Josh.
Bye, Josh.
Bye, Josh.
Wow, what a
all right. Now that loser's gone, let's talk.
Here.
Let's talk, ladies. Okay, so let's get the initial thoughts of this episode. We have finally not an 8-2 or 8-1 to 1 whatever vote. We got 5-4.
Well, here's the thing. At the end of the day, Josh did get what he wanted, because he said, if I just wanted to have, like, unanimous votes, why am I playing Survivor? And now here he is, you know, getting a very close vote. And then, unfortunately, he just happens to be the one on the receiving end of it.
That's why 9's so fun. Like, 9 should be a 5-4 vote. If everybody's playing hard and trying to find that 5 and trying to plan out their future, 9 should be a 5-4 vote with 4 people very upset, because they know that the hill is so large once you're on the wrong side of that.
I just think it's so interesting, because it's not like anybody went in wanting that to be a 5-4 vote, except like maybe Angie or like some of those like straggler type people. But like these factions of Doug and Sadie, which are so clearly like the factions themselves are on opposite sides, but Doug and Sadie are still the ones sitting in the castle, and they're still looking out for each other. Like, that should be so apparent to everybody. And it is to Angie, but unfortunately she can't rally anybody behind it. And it's so, sorry, I'm getting worked up already, but like, it's so frustrating to just watch this happen, where these two clear kingpins that everybody knows are the kingpins are continuously making these decisions, and they're like, oh, like, you take one and I'll take one. But now...
And they're communicating with each other.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, Doug went against that. And, like, I feel like if he would have said to Sadie, like, hey, Angie's on our side, they would have just made it an 8-1. And Sadie would have gotten her, Delaram, and Abby to vote for Josh as well. But Doug deliberately did not tell Sadie this. And so I think now a war is coming.
I will say this, because this is a very funny thing that Doug decided to do. He texted them all like 2 minutes before tribal and said, we're all voting for Josh. Like, so when they get mad, they'll look at their vote and go, oh, cool, you warned me while we were at tribal. Very cool.
Yikes.
That's what he does, though. And that's why I like Doug. I am a Doug stan as well.
That is not a good move. That is not an appreciative move.
I'm sorry. It's not his fault that he's great at the game and has 3 idols, and that if he plays them, it's literally Final 5 right now. Like, think about that. If he gets through one more tribal, he plays them and he's Final 4. Like, you play those idols. You don't play it on anybody else. I know you're trying to, like, align stuff, but that's every Survivor player's dream, to have that kind of firepower and that kind of social power at this point in the game. He's doing it all, and we hate him for it, but I don't.
I don't either.
Yeah, on the note of, like, also the social power, he doesn't even need to use those idols because he has two groups selling him, like, Final 5. Like, that's unreal. Like, he wouldn't, like, I don't know why everyone is just eating into his hands, but yeah, it's crazy.
In my head, the challenge for Doug is Doug needs to play. Like, I think it's just the smart thing to do to cover your ass with those idols at those votes. So how do you make sure that people don't get pissed off at you while you do it? And so it's like kind of odd because you have to be like spooked into it theoretically, or you have to have a reason to play it so that people don't get mad at you. And then once you've played them all, you're like, oh yeah, I was playing them because I had so many and you have to respect me for it. And I didn't even need them because I didn't get votes then or whatever. But it's really like, I foresee a problem for him in the future very soon where he has to start playing these idols without like people being like, why the hell did you do that?
I don't think he cares. I don't think he cares about that. Like, the whole dynamic of this is that Doug is the villain. He does these things to, like, have fun, to be a villain. I don't think Doug cares if people are going to get mad about the way he plays an idol. I don't think he's like, I think he is going full force with the idea that this jury is going to respect the game and only the game, and is not going to care about feelings or, like, how people felt on the way out. I think he is fully invested in that notion. And so I don't think he cares. I think he will play these idols to make flashy moves when he needs to. He just made this move and pissed off Sadie. So why would he save his idols or like use his idols in a way? Yeah, but why would he use these idols in a way to not piss anybody off when he literally did just use this move with no idol to piss off somebody that was supposed to be his closest ally?
Well, does he do what I suggested? Maybe, maybe not. That was how I would handle it, because I wouldn't want people.
Sure, Carson. That's how you would handle it. How many games have you won?
3 idols. That's how I would do it.
Well, no, Carson, answer the question. How many games have you won? Exactly. Jess, what are your thoughts about that?
You know, I was kind of trying to keep track of who knew about which idol, which he like gave us at one point in the episode.
So
this first idol.
So no, but no one knows that he has more than one. It seems like
so his first idol, no one knows about. He's kept that secret. The second idol, he's told Santi and Sadie,
and I think
Sadie has then told Delaram and Abby. The third idol, Santi, Abby, Delaram, and Sadie all know about. Oh, I'm sorry. Tim also knows about the second idol because he lied to Tim and then told Tim. And Tim was like, why would you lie to me about this for so long? It's a good thing Doug has not lied to him again.
I would love to see someone try to flush it. So many people know, but I mean, he has such, like, all those people that we just listed are not gonna, like, want to take him to Final 5. So I don't think they'll do that. But I would just like to see, like, you know, come on, like, someone, like, you don't have to vote for Doug, but, like, get him to play an idol. I mean, yeah.
So I wrote
it's incredible.
Go ahead.
It's incredible. Sadie really tries hard to be like, I don't want to do anything against Doug. And then she continually buries him incidentally, like telling Abby and Delaram he has these two idols, but being like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. Or texting Josh that, oh, we should get Josh out. Sorry, that was for Doug. Here's screenshots from my conversation with Doug. Or earlier when she was like texting Mike, Doug doesn't trust you. It's like Sadie's not trying to hurt Doug, but she is for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. So what I wrote down while Josh was talking, just because it's just the fact is everybody is just waiting for Sadie and Doug to target each other, to do anything about either of them. That's what they're waiting on. They're banking on the fact that one of them is going to wise up and figure out that the other one has to go for them to go anywhere. But they don't have to do that yet is the problem. I think both of them are waiting until Final Five, and there's a lot of people that are going to get lost along the way, and before that happens, that could do something about this before they're ready to turn on each other. But everybody at any point is not willing to piss at least one of the two of them off, if not both of them. So they're waiting on the chance to like keep at least one of them happy, which they're never going to get.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Oh,
you bring up a good point here too, as well, with the no one wants to piss Sadie or Doug off, and they're trying to wait till Final Five. You hear in this episode Santi go, "I don't want this Final Five. It's obvious that me and Doug would just be picked up." And then Abby echoes that with, "We're going to go to Final Five, and then the three girls are going to pick up Doug and Santi." It's like this is not an unknown thing, so to even consider it is like, why? No mystery.
It is like, I get it. It's scary when everyone knows where the power resides and everyone knows that their ears are everywhere. There's something really scary about being the one to bring up the name, and you just hope and pray that somebody else does so that you can hop on board. But like, it makes sense, but also would love to see some more dramatic things happen. But everybody is playing a little scared right now.
I think
Go ahead.
Delaram at like the beginning of this episode, just talking with Abby and Sadie, was like, I don't want to vote for Doug because it's going to impact our relationship. And I was just like, I mean, I know Doug in person, like he's a really great guy. And like, he makes like, even playing with him, like he makes you feel whatever. He's your friend, but like, he's also scheming. But to hear her say that, I was just like he's not only like playing a really good strategic game, but like such a good social game that like, she's not even willing to like consider voting for him like one or two rounds down the line. I don't know.
Well, let's talk about that three, the Sadie, Delaram, and Abby trio, which has been alluded to but never really shown because they don't film themselves. So we see them this episode talking about what to do, and they're like, okay, we got to get Angie on board because we need Josh, and then the five of us can make the big move, getting out Dane, and then Tim. It's like, wow, you're really aiming high here, Sadie. You said we got to get rid of the targets, not Doug and Santi. So let's get our thoughts about those three, their want for that Final Five, and sort of their plan moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense from all of their perspectives. Like, they are just they have this mutual agreement amongst this Final Five where they do come out on top, because their side wins out in that Final Five. Like, they get majority. So they are totally okay with going like, Dane, Josh, Tim, Angie, and then they're at Final Five. So it does completely work out for them. I think it's a great plan. It gets them all to Final Three. I think from their perspective, it's absolutely perfect. And that's why I think Abby and Dalaram are fine sitting complacent in this, letting Sadie do whatever she wants, call the shots, because in their minds they are just going to be able to pick off Santi and Doug right after that. But even Abby mentioned she was like, I would like to get Doug out, but I know that I can't bring that up to Sadie. We can't do it this week, whatever. So I think that they're at least kind of thinking about it, but again, they're Abby and Dalaram, so I don't have too high of expectations.
I like Abby. I mean, maybe it's just because she says what she's thinking sometimes, and I don't know. Give her some love. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I've also like it's nice to see her come out of her shell a little bit because she got no Showtime like pre-merge basically. And now to actually see her like kind of strategizing, and I think she's funny. Like I like her sense of humor.
Oh, she's great. I mean, she also said in this episode like that she does want to target Doug, that she is thinking about the future, but it's like she's trying to juggle it. And she has made, at least Sadie is a little bit more hush hush about what she wants to do at Final Five, even though it's very clear. Abby is very blunt about it. Like, that is what I want to do. We're going to get rid of Doug and Santi. Like, there's no leeway here. And I actually want to talk a little bit about, they want to get Angie on their side. They have Josh. Josh has admitted that he and Sadie are very close. They have Josh. Abby and Sadie both go up to Angie and talk to her. And the way that they talk to her is very, very different. Abby is like, I want to work together. I don't know if I'm like super trustworthy in anyone. Like, I'd be willing to flip on anyone, which in one hand, it's like, if you're trying to get me on your side and you say you're willing to flip on anyone, I don't know if I can trust that. But Abby is also tied in with Delrob and Sadie. So to hear that she might be leaning another way is good. Sadie's approach is, yeah, we're all voting for Dane. Who's we? Oh, everyone. Me, Doug, Santi. We're very close. It's like, okay, so I'm not at all in this equation. You are telling me. So what are our thoughts on Sadie? Like, what is she too confident?
Yes, completely. I think Sadie has had the ability to go through this game without really having to lie, without really having to manipulate. She's just had people loyal to her. She's been loyal to the right people. And she's been able to play a rather honest game and still be on top. And I think that all of this, the culmination of all of this, has gotten her a very big head where she's like, if I say something, it happens. And that has been kind of the case, especially in these merge votes, where like it was not in Doug or Tim's best interest for Amanda to go home, yet she still went home because Sadie dictated it. So I think she's kind of continuing with this notion coming into this week of like, oh, well, now it's going to be Dane. I've made this decision. And so that's what's going to happen. And I think that this is going to be a huge blow, and how she reacts to like this blind side is going to be very telling of whether or not she has the capabilities of like pulling this out and still making it to the end.
The difference between Sadie and Doug is Doug has 3 backup plans, and he knows it, and Sadie does not, and she doesn't know it. Like, that would be the way that I'd describe the situation. And maybe this week is the jump start that she needs, like I was talking about earlier.
Jess, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. Honestly, I didn't have that much to add other than what they said. I was like really enjoying watching Sadie play. Like, she was one of my top players for a while, but it's like definitely kind of seems to be coming apart a bit. And I'm hoping to see the Doug versus Sadie come to a head sooner rather than later, but we'll see.
Let's talk a little bit about the other side. So it's Dane, Tim, Doug, Santi. Dane is definitely like aware that he needs to be doing more and he needs to be more of a present player, and he's trying to build those relationships. What are our thoughts about Dane, about his future? He survived this vote barely, but not because of his relationship with Angie. Jess, why don't you start us off on Dane if you have any pressing thoughts or opinions about him? I know it's hard, it's Dane, but the Dane train rolls on, baby.
Dane, choo-choo.
Honestly, he grew out his beard a little bit and he really looked like Josh. And like, I know Josh, I can like pick him out of a crowd, but like to see both of them in the darkness of Tribal, I was just like, it's just 2 white guys with the. So that's how I feel about Dane. If you.
Erin, we talked about this last week. Only one of them can survive, and it was literally a vote between them, and only one survived.
My mom actually texted me after the episode, and she said, first, totally called it. There can be only one, Josh or Dane. So, yeah, she was all in on that too. I don't know. I think he is becoming Josh, where he is also kind of self-aware, but not in the right ways. Because he had that whole analogy with like the ladder, right? Where he was like, there's the mid-tier players and then there's like the people on the bottom rungs. And like the people on the bottom, so like I'm happy being a mid-tier player right now because it's those bottom rungs that are getting knocked out. But once those bottom rungs get knocked out, where does that leave me? So I think he's starting to see his position. He understands that he is closer to the bottom rung, but again, he's not necessarily doing anything about it.
I liked that he wasn't afraid to speak up at tribal. I mean, I know that it probably didn't make a big difference because everybody had already made their decisions, but there is something commendable, I think, about anybody have anything else that they want to say, and you actually say something, and you're like, keep me in this game. Like, I don't know. I just like the fight, and yeah, love to see it.
Yeah, and he claims that they're voting out of fear, which is not a bad call. Like,
no,
I think that's true. A lot of people are afraid of doing something that might hurt people, and he is saying, don't do it. Make a move.
Mm-hmm.
So Tim, let's talk about Doug. There's a lot to talk about. So Sadie gives everyone a fake idol clue except for her and Doug and Delaram. And Doug finds this idol, the third idol. He has all three. I guess, what are our thoughts about the situation? I've never seen it happen, but this is the first season where all the idols have been taken by one person. It's Final 8. We haven't seen them used at all.
All you can do is give him props. From my perspective, that's insane. Like, that's actually insane. And with that kind of firepower, you can play more aggressively because you know that 3 of these tribal councils, if you play your cards right, you're going to be safe. It's like how when you win immunity, you can swing a little bit harder because you know that at least in the short term, you're going to be fine. He's good in the long term. Like 3 tribal councils, he's good. So all he needs to do is lay low, like enough for 1 more tribal council, and then swing. He can literally throw out anybody's name he wants, and idol nullifier permitting, he's not going anywhere.
There's no, unfortunately, there's no idol nullifier, because in my mind I went, there's no way these idols don't get found and used. Little did I know we would have a Josh on this season and then a Doug.
It's
amazing. You give them all the tools to do it, and they say, here you go, Doug.
And then even Angie gave him the clue with the challenge.
That was unbelievable.
I started screaming. Like when he found the third idol, I was like, well, yeah, goddamn course he found the third idol. Like, of course he did. Nobody's surprised there. Because everybody else needs a fake clue, except the guy that already has 2 idols. Let's give him the real one. Great plan, Sadie.
There was a comment in the chat that said that Doug needs to win an immunity. Yeah. What if you just win 1 immunity over the next 4? Then you don't even have to. You're literally a lock for Final 4, and he was close.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm conflicted on whether I think Doug is going to play any of his idols on anybody else, because we've seen him be an extremely selfish player. So I would assume that that's going to continue. But maybe coming down to the nitty gritty, he might be getting that in his head of like, need jury votes. Like maybe if I save one of my people who like one of my goats with an idol, then it's going to look good or like whatever. So maybe he could, especially later on, like if he wins an immunity in a time where like he would be using his idol, like at a Final 5 or something, he has immunity, like might as well play that idol for somebody else. But he's also just so selfish.
That's very much a situation that could happen. I just want to see the moment where he's wearing all 3 and it's like, oh my gosh, everyone else realizes that he's good till Final 4. And they go, my plans have entirely changed in this moment. I think that'll be really cool.
I just wonder whose plans would have changed.
Probably not. Yeah.
Who here other than just period. Who here doesn't have Doug at least in their Final 5?
No one. They all have him. At least as of this point, if they were to go all the same, Doug is in the Final 5 for everything.
Yeah.
Alliance-wise and idol-wise, he's in the Final 5.
Alliance-wise for both sides and idol-wise. It's incredible. They also, Doug and Sati did a great thing. They got rid of the only person who wasn't in either of their Final 5, which at Final 9 is an incredible feat. Really disappointing, but still incredible.
I thought it was really funny. I do think like Doug's pretty cocky. I think I can say that. Like at the beginning of the episode, he makes a comment being like, yeah, like Josh threw out my name and like, what happens when people throw out my name. And I was like, I don't know, that makes me like hopeful that he like will like do something with his idols, like how much longer he's gonna hold on to them without doing anything. But he's clearly like really confident in his game, and like also maybe he should be really confident in his game because
he absolutely should be. Yeah,
He's loaded.
He's played a flawless game so far.
He's absolutely loaded in every capacity right now.
He has 3 idols. He's got at least Final 5 with everybody. He's a mastermind. I
have no insider information, but I do know for a fact that he wins every individual immunity from here on out too.
Yeah, he's so good. I mean, in a way, he's right. Like Eric called him out, gone. Liam and Mike were both threats to his game, both gone. Jasmine, gone. And then Josh is the next one. It's basically only Chikasha and Eric. He's like, they're saying my name. That's not something a Pascala member would do. They all love me on Pascala.
Yeah, honestly, yes. Because he established those relationships right at the beginning with everybody.
They love him.
Yeah. I mean, you heard Josh. He's so charming. And which I believe is true.
He doesn't have the pretty face of Santi, but he has the pretty words. God, if he and Santi switched the social game, Santi would be unstoppable. Charming and a pretty face. How could Josh turn? Notice how Josh never said he wanted to turn against Santi. It was always, I want to maybe go for Doug and then save him. Because Josh knew he needed to keep his chance open with Santi.
Yeah.
Which, don't we all?
It was spread around that Josh was saying Santi.
Yeah, but not this episode. You gave up on that plan. So let's talk a little bit about Santi and Tim. So Tim obviously doesn't have the other final 5 to look at, but he does have the I don't want to be voted out, and I can't work with the other side. What do we think about Tim's chances long term?
Was Tim in this episode?
I think
we had to focus on the other 2 white guys who were being targeted.
Oh, you're right.
All with beards too. I think Tim like kind of sits between Santi and Doug in a really beneficial way for him. I think like, but he's not in either of those big Final 5 plans, is he?
No, Tim is. He's
in one of them.
He's in the 5 that voted together.
The 5 that Santi wants.
Right. So but whatever. I think between like whatever social stuff Santi can pull or whatever scheming and social stuff Doug can pull, like I think between the 2 of them, Tim sits in a really good position to like potentially have one of them probably more like drag him further. But also Tim and I went to the same high school.
Pennsylvania, check. Yeah, Tim has the position of I can choose which one of the roommates I want to get rid of. Let's talk about Santi. This is a really good comment. I think Santi's relationship with Angie is good. So we finally see something happen with this relationship. They were together in the beginning. They break up. They come back together.
We're the star-crossed lovers of the season. I'm invested. I love it.
In this moment, Santi assuring her that he will not betray her, I believe is the reason she sides with that side. She says, I like Josh, but I can trust Santi.
Mm-hmm.
She can't trust Josh. She has to verify the information he gives. She can trust what Santi says because he will say, I don't trust you. I can't work with you.
I think it's less about what he said, and I think she just made the mistake of looking directly into Santi's eyes and she couldn't say no. Like, that's his magic. That's his superpower. That's what got Josh. Like, if you look directly in Santi's eyes, you're just done for. And I think, but no, I love this relationship. I genuinely like their whole roller coaster. Like, they're genuinely the star-crossed lovers of the season. I think it's incredible. I think that it is I think it's like that they have the most well-founded relationship, at least for Angie. Like, Santi, of the people left, is her most well-founded, well-established relationship. Despite the bumps in the road on the way, they still have that like initial connection and like that mutual respect at least going forward. And so that was the draw for that side of, I think, why she decided to go over there. I can't imagine it was for any reason other than just Santi, because she's even said in a previous episode when Santi did kind of present her with this alliance of like himself, Tim, Doug. I think at that point it was also Mike and then Angie. And she was like, well, I'm not working with any of those other people. You are. But so at this point, she's still not working with any of those other people, but she just chose Santi in this moment. And I think that's the space in which Josh should have worked harder on that relationship. Like that, I think that was his huge mistake, was not continuing to invest in this Angie relationship. But you can't beat love,
You can't. Look, I was a business major. You got to invest in those really. They didn't expect Angie's stock to go so high, but in this episode, all-time high. And Santi had invested a lot of stock after they got back together. Josh, he was just like, I'll put in a little, and it wasn't going to pay out. It wasn't going to be enough.
Exactly.
In this analogy, I guess voting out is the debt collector, and he just didn't earn enough to pay off that debt. I'm going to go with that analogy, and you're going to enjoy it. So sorry.
I think in another season with another group of players, Santi and Angie would be in a really good spot right now. Like to get to the end and win this game. Because,
and then get married.
Yes. Hunger Games style.
Yeah. But like, when you're on the 5-4 split, you're in a decent spot normally. But there's just so much crossover in the fact that Angie doesn't really have a great relationship with everybody over there. And you just can't, for like us as viewers, you can't forget that Doug is existing with 3 idols. I don't know if it's in the cards for them, but normally I think they'd be in a really good spot right now. So from their own perspective inside the game, I can see why that would be a move. Yeah, I can see why it went down the way that it did,
Yeah, kind of building off of that, I guess I would have liked to see, like, Angie was the swing vote. Like, there's a lot of power in that, and I kind of wish she was like, she was indecisive and like didn't know what to do, and like I definitely understand that, but I feel like she never got the opportunity to be like, oh, like look what decisions in my hands. But yeah, I'm really interested to see where her and Santi go. Like, it would be nice to see them run off into the sunset together, but maybe we'll see it. I'm holding out hope for it.
Let's talk a little bit about Angie. So she was a swing vote. Both sides were courting her and said, please vote with us. Some of them were doing a better job than others. Josh mentioned it. Doug was doing a good job. Like, Jess, that was also a great line that you brought up with Angie. Like, I'm 100% not sure what I'm going to do, which, what does that mean? How are you so certain you don't know what you're doing? And Doug going, yeah, me too. I don't know what I'm doing. What are we going to do? It's like, Doug does a really good job of selling, whereas Sadie is bad at it. Bad. She says, we're doing this. Everyone's doing it. You better do it.
Yep.
And Doug's like, whatever you want. I'm also confused. What are you? So like, how do we feel about Angie's play? Jess, you felt like she was kind of weak in this episode in terms of she didn't really make the decision.
I mean, okay, well, one, as someone who's really indecisive, also I really empathize with her in this situation. I've been really enjoying Angie's game, like, so far. Like, she's definitely one of my favorite players. I just like, obviously it's a hard position to be in, and yeah, she I don't think she did make the, I mean, I don't know, sorry.
You can say it. You don't think she made the right decision.
Yeah. I mean,
in that you wish she was voting for someone else, not Dane or Josh.
Yeah, I think.
Like, what would have been her best move?
Oh, I mean, she did. She gave the clue to Doug. That like set the tone for me, at least, of being like, okay, so she's like definitely trying to suck up to Doug right now, and which is not what I would be rooting for right now. Like, I would have liked to see her like, try to do something a little riskier, but I guess the reality is that she just didn't have enough strong enough connections to kind of have that like big swing vote influence.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that she has a small connection with Tim and a larger connection with Santi. So it is a question of, like, where does she go from here? How does she not just become the fifth of this 5-person alliance?
Yeah, I think Angie had such good reads this whole episode. Like, she knows exactly what's going on. She knows exactly where she stands. Like, she recognized, she was like, neither option's great for me. I think if you're looking at it objectively, of just like you either vote out Dane or you vote out Josh, I think she completely made the wrong decision. Like, because Josh is somebody that trusted her. So why would you vote him out over Dane, who you have no relationship with? So how I see this is akin to like the Amanda situation on the Jasmine vote, where she should have like come to the people that she wanted to work with and said, what if we vote out a different person on the other side? And just tried to kind of use her pull that way, whether it was like hey, what if instead of voting out Dane, we vote out Doug? But the problem there is that that's not going to happen because Sadie wasn't going to do that. So I think it's just a matter of circumstance where these did end up being her options. She didn't really have the agency to do anything because Sadie and Doug do have all the power. So I think that these were the options that faced her, and I think choosing to side with Santi is going to be, I think it's going to be more fun from a viewer's perspective, because I do see a situation in which Santi might, like, there's some tension between Santi and Doug because Santi's trying to protect Angie. So I think that could be where she's trying to come from there.
What I am thinking about it is, the 2 weeks where you really want to be the swing vote, if it's a close vote, are 9 and 7, right? And part of the pro of being the swing vote and everyone knowing you're the swing vote is you get to pick who goes home, right? Literally, as in you're the fifth vote. And also in the sense that, like, people want your vote, so whoever you suggest, like, has a little more weight most of the time. She just didn't have that pull, as a swing vote that the traditional swing vote might take advantage of. And that's just kind of, it's just kind of tough, You're the swing vote, but you don't even get to pick who goes home.
It's because all of the power this whole game was just handed to Doug and Sadie, and it's too late to do anything about it.
And they still want to work with each other. It's the most insane thing. They say, I can't hurt the other.
I will say, I think that's completely cut off now. I think that is, and if not completely cut off, I think it's definitely on edge. Because Doug did make this move completely without and completely against Sadie. And and if I'm being honest, she picked the weaker team.
She picked a more loyal team to herself, for sure. But
yes.
I think this is an important, this is something that I've experienced myself. If your alliance isn't doing any work, then you are now the sole target on your own side.
Yep.
And if you're not able to get the numbers to your side for whatever reason, you will be the target. Because no one's going to target Delaram or Abby because they're not doing anything. So it's the same. If Tim and Santi aren't connecting with the other side and Doug's side loses, Doug is the obvious target because they're not going to go for a Tim or a Santi or a Delaram or an Abby. They're going to go for Sadie or Doug if they were playing a purely us versus them game.
Yeah, but I feel like there is still more stock in a Santi or a Tim than there is in a Delaram or an Abby.
Oh, well, of course. I mean, let's not insult everyone. I love Delaram and Abby, but we've seen very little from them because there's very little to show.
Yeah.
Abby talking to some people this week is probably the most she's played this game.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, wow, this is Abby's breakout episode, honestly. It really was.
Yeah, 4 confessionals before the intro, she's winning.
I don't even think her hands were in her pockets for a couple of them.
That's what we call character growth. All right, any other thoughts about this episode? Do we think this 5 is sticking together? Do we think that it is bad news bears for Sadie, Delaram, and Abby? Or do we think this was a voting block and next vote will be disappointing and different? or exciting. Bye, Doug.
I don't know that it's bad news for Sadie, just because of her relationship with Doug. But I do think that they're going to stick together, at least for one vote.
I'd be interested to see if they shift focus to like Dane, like it's an easy, you know what I mean? Like as like a repair the bridge that they really burnt down. I don't know. I think if I'm like, based on how the rest of the season's been going so far, I think like the easy, like I'd hope they wouldn't do that easy vote, but I can definitely see it going that way, especially if, I mean, it also depends on who wins immunity and if Doug wants to play as idol.
It all completely depends on what Doug wants, just like everything else this season. It all 100% hinges on what Doug wants. If he is, I think what would be very exciting to watch is if he does recognize that relationship between Santi and Angie and is like, oh, you know, he's going to spend his time protecting her. So it becomes more of like a Doug versus Santi thing. And then Sadie gets to kind of like fade to the background and doesn't become a target. But I also agree with Jess. I think potentially if they do want to kind of mend bridges, then yeah, by Dane, like Dane trained.
I love the argument. Dane is an easy vote. It's like you've tried to vote him out twice before. It doesn't seem like he's easy.
Well, but Doug tried to vote him out, so that's the difference.
You got me. You're right. Doug never waved his finger and said, Dane, it's time for you to go. Get out.
Exactly. Doug is the queen of hearts.
Minions, bring your votes to me. I will write Dane for you. What I don't show you is Doug actually writes all the votes, hands it to the players, and then they just bring it over and put it in the iron. He says, here's your gruel, children. And he throws it at them.
Would not surprise me in the slightest.
Listen, piggies, come here for your slop, your votes. So let's talk about winner picks. Erin, sticking with Sadie.
I have to.
How are you feeling?
This is probably the worst I've felt about it. Just because I am just, as much as I would love to see Sadie win, I know it's going to be Doug. Like, I'm just so, like, this has to be, like, this has been Doug's season. And if he doesn't win, I'm almost going to be disappointed. But, like, I do really want Sadie to come out on top in this war. I think that would be very cool to see. And I think if she does come out on top in this war and make it to the end, then she fully deserves to win.
Carson, who's your winner pick?
It's hard to pick against somebody that has 3 idols. You gotta go with Doug.
That's fair. He has a lot of power.
And all the relationships that he has, the position that he's in, and the firepower that he's got to back it up. You know, you need a little bit of that firepower to get over the last hump sometimes, and he's got it to spare. Gosh, yeah, this is his season.
Jess, who is your winner pick? You said that you really were a fan of Sadie.
I was liking Sadie, and okay, if I'm being honest, I don't really have one, but I was reading over my notes, and Ange really is sticking out to me. I think like rooting for her in this kind of underdog position, and like seeing where her relationship goes with Santi. But I'm also gonna Carson just said it all. Like, Doug has the schemes, he has the friends, he has the idols. Like,
where's the fun in that? We get it. Doug's playing a great game. What about the queen? What about Queen Angie? You were saying, I get it. Angie's great. I love her. She's not great read, but Doug has 3 idols.
Backup prediction.
You like Doug. It's fine.
It's just like he could like scheme all he wanted, and like everything could like get fucked up. And sorry, I don't know if I can curse on this. That's a preview for my seasons. I can't control it. So okay, Doug could scheme all he wants, but these idols to fall back on at the end of the day. Like, whatever. I mean, but I'll be hopeful and I'll be like, I don't know. I feel like I'm being like a romantic by like rooting for the underdog. Everybody loves an underdog. I really did think this episode, the notes that I wrote down for Angie are like she's really aware, like, and I thought, and like pretty smart. Like she recognizes her, what's the word?
Position.
Whatever. Yeah, she recognizes her position, and I like can only hope that she, takes this relationship with Santi and uses it to her advantage.
And we can always hold out hope that Doug just wants to carry his 3 idols to Final Tribal just to show them off.
We could.
And
we could.
Who knows? Doug may get blindsided next episode.
He could. Probably not. But he could.
I mean, the odds of him getting blindsided with 3 idols pretty low. But there's always Final 4.
I've seen enough Survivor to know that every couple seasons, somebody just runs away with it. This is one of those seasons.
And I've seen enough Survivor to say a queen is a queen, and they will always conquer.
Adios.
Yes, Jeff?
Thank you. I will say, though, there were some moments this episode where it does seem like Santi is like kind of waking up a little bit. So I'm excited to see where that goes. And like, I've already said like Ange takes advantage of her relationship, but like, let's see what Santi does with it. Like, I'd like to see like, I mean, we haven't seen so much of him these past few episodes, but like, maybe this is like the kick that he needs to kind of be like, here's my good friend Dougie, which I love when he calls him Dougie. It's so cute. Like maybe, yeah. I think he has like the social pull also to kind of maybe do something. So here's hoping.
It did feel like Santi was going through an existential crisis this episode, though. Like he was like, I just don't know who to trust anymore. I really just don't know what I'm doing. Like I was like, Santi, are you okay?
Well, you'll all see when Delram and Abby, the strongest roommates, win the game. You started taking Liam's warnings with heed. You should have said, he knows what he's talking about. He's been playing this game. When he said we needed to get rid of the strongest roommates, Delram and Abby, he wasn't lying. We'll see next episode when Delram and Abby find the super idol that nullifies all other idols and also kicks Doug out automatically. It was planned from the beginning. Anyways, thank you everyone for watching. We didn't even mention, this was the episode of the 2016 election. This was the tribal, it happened between the challenge and the tribal. So when you see everyone at tribal, they've all just gone through the fun 5 stages of grief after Donald Trump won. So the irony of having them vote for someone was not lost on me. That's why the votes had to count this time. They said, our popular vote will win. Goodbye, John.
That does explain Santi's existential crisis.
Oh, yeah. No one was in a good mood. I'll tell you that. But the election happened then. So if you're ever wondering, when did the 2016 election happen? It happened in episode 11 of Survivor Maryland Major Conflict.
Really put it in perspective for me, Anders.
It really puts you in perspective about this show.
Where were you when you heard the results? I was grabbing my 3rd idol.
Where were you? I had my 3rd idol. All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next week with episode 12. Who's going to go home and why will it not be Doug? Is he going to find the 4th idol? Who knows? All right. Good night. Everyone wave goodbye. And I'm